Hello everyone. Good morning and happy Sunday. Today is August 23rd, 2020. I wanted to make this video to give you some updates on outside political news and how that's going to impact the biotech sector. So let's get started. But first, before I begin, I'd like to inform you that the information I'm sharing with you should be used as guidance information only, and anytime when you make an investment decision, please do your own investment research. So let's get started. So what I know is today the European market has been impacted again with the COVID-19 pandemic. So what we know is, like, in the early times, countries like France, Germany, Spain was impacted significantly with the COVID-19, where a lot of the civilians had to go to the hospitals. And Italy hospitals were just getting so packed that they were just so limited with size. However, once all those issues became resolved, the country began opening up again and letting people go back to normal society, along with other countries in the European markets. But now, what's happening is that there's a yo-yo effect that's going on, and the peak is beginning to trend upward. And what's scary is that it's because of the summertime effect, where the sun's out, people think, okay, the virus isn't going to spread as likely, so people are outdoors. However, what's scary is that the seasons are beginning to change soon, where we're going to enter the fall and winter equinox soon. And what that means is that's when the virus can become more virulent and be able to spread more fast within areas where there's high humidity and the temperatures are lower. So that's going to be scary, because once you have one impacted person and they stay indoors, most people that are indoors within that same territory of the infected people, there's going to be more spread. So the fact that you can have outside spacious people with non-infected people, well, let's say once everyone is forced to be inside because it's so cold, well, all the infected people are either going to have to be hopefully isolated or not isolated. But what's ultimately going to happen is that COVID-19 is not going away. This virus will continue to spread, and the exterior portion of it will continue to change. So what that means is, like, the protein on the virus will evolve over time. What we know is the virus from the Wuhan, compared to the virus in the United States, it has a different structure. For example, in the United States, the virus has an S protein versus a different formation in the one that originally came from the Wuhan. Now let's go ahead and let's get started. I wanted to share with you some new highlights that I've discovered on Wall Street Journal. So what I like doing is I like looking at the market trends. So for example, what I tend to do is I like looking at the future outlook, just the features of the market trends, and I kind of like looking at the Dow Jones and then the S&P future, just to see whether we're going to have a green day or a red day. It gives you an insight in terms of where the market's heading, and you also get information on oil, crude, and gold. Then I'm going to show you some new information from Wall Street, where the article highlight is about Spain caught off guard by resurgent coronavirus. Alright, so as you can see here, according to one of the doctors from the University Clinic Hospital, the outbreak was a complete surprise. We didn't expect it so soon. So what's happening now is that there's more than 5,000 cases breaking out on average, and according to Spain, they're saying that the lockdowns alone aren't enough. The key to containing the virus is how effectively a country builds up systems for testing, tracing, and isolating potential virus carriers, while establishing clear safety rules as the economy reopens. So again, to me, after reading this statement, countries need to follow best practices and leverage key things like testing, isolation, and escalation. Those things will help countries be able to advance out from this outbreak. Countries like South Korea, they've managed it so well when the outbreak first began, but you don't hear a systemic problem happening anymore. However, countries like in Europe, we're seeing these things break out, like in Spain, for example, which is surprising. And as you can see, look at this graph here. I mean, it's noted summer rebound. Spain is leading Europe in the latest rise of new coronavirus infections. So this is daily confirmed COVID-19 cases. It's a 7-day rolling average. So as you can see here, Spain peaked up back in April 2nd, 2020. And now 4 months later, it's trending back up to its original peak. So it looks like there's a 4-month delay before the peak begins going upward again. But as you can see, France is beginning to hover up here too. Italy, it's done a great job containing, so perhaps maybe we can leverage best practices from Italy. It seems like Italy has gained a lot of information and has been applying best practices because it looks like it's contained now. However, what's alarming is Spain and France. That's what's scary. And here's a 14-day cumulative number of confirmed COVID-19 cases per 100,000 people. And as you can see, Spain, France, UK, Germany, Italy, those are the top rising countries. So I wanted to go over next on the bright side. Well, we all know, like, sources like Wall Street Journal is going to highlight very big companies, known companies like Moderna, for example. Here we see companies like Eli Lilly and Regeneron being talked about because supposedly they have antibody medicine that can supposedly support hospitalized patients as well as non-hospitalized patients to build on their immunity if they're impacted with the COVID-19. So what's great is that there's more large cap companies having potential products that are going to support this viral pandemic. However, it'd be nice for us to start seeing more news release, at least from Wall Street Journal, on small cap companies. And when I say small cap companies, I'm referring to companies like the biotech industry that I've been monitoring. Now I'm gonna go ahead and rub my magic golden 8 ball right here and just see what companies I'm referring to, right? Well, what I'm referring to are companies like Inovio Pharmaceuticals, Sorrento Therapeutics, IBIO, Moderna, Novavax, Co-Diagnostics, VXRT, IBIV, RIGL, HTBX. There you go. Those are the tickers that will make it big, because what we know is the COVID-19 pandemic hasn't been resolved yet. And to me, there will be some outbreaks happening coming soon. And once summer goes away and once winter starts kicking in again, this virus is going to kick in. And I feel like this upcoming week, by tomorrow, like August 24th, the COVID-19, at least the small cap companies, may start taking off again, because what we hear in Europe, this should give us a pretty good highlight in terms of where companies are going to be headed. And knowing that companies are now filing its investigational new drug IND submission to the FDA for review to get into like phase 1 or to get into the next phase for clinical trials, like the vaccine race with Moderna, Inovio Pharmaceuticals, and Novavax. All are complete with the phase 1 clinical trials but are now positioning into phase 2. But there's also a large scale small cap companies working to get their IND cleared by the FDA so they can start their phase 1 clinical trials. So that's the great news. And I'm going to tell you that this pandemic is not going to get solved by this year. by next year, possibly, but it all depends on how many people are going to take the vaccine. But I'm going to say that there's going to be a large number of companies that will need to have vaccines in place, and it's not going to be like one company wins all and all the share prices will fall down. The key takeaway to draw from this is the demand for biotech is changing, and so for that reason, most of these biotech company stocks are going to go up. So investing into these biotech companies that I've shared with you, for example, Sorrento Therapeutics, Inovio Pharmaceuticals, IBIO, Moderna, Novavax, Co-Diagnostics, VXRT, RIGL Pharmaceuticals, Heat Biologics, VBIV vaccines. So those are some top quality tickers I've shared with you, and I hope that that was valuable for you. And let's take the information that we're getting from, like, let's say Wall Street as good information. Let's say if we're current investors in the tickers I've shared with you, but we're ready to roll. Let's just put all the losses we've experienced on this back burner, and let's look further ahead and let's gain on the positive proceeds. Thank you so much for watching another episode at Investing with All ICSW. Thanks.